Welcome to our math class today. I hope this works out well. Today's going to be some new material, but we're not going to go very far today. We're mainly, well, I can talk. We're mainly going to work on page 297 in your student activity book. So if you want to open up your page so you can follow along with me, we're going to do an activity, and then I'm going to kind of give you a weird homework assignment for you to do today. And so it'll be kind of maybe a little bit of a treasure hunt. Okay, so we're going to see how that goes. So today we're going to talk about type of angles. But up here, let me change the color of my pencil. Way up here in this corner, you're going to see a vocabulary set of words. Okay. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about this word right here, and then we will get to the second set of words, okay? So if we look, sorry, I thought I hit the eraser. I got the highlighter. If we look over here, we have what we talk about is a ray. So a ray is a part of a line that has one endpoint and a continuous forever in one direction. To draw a ray, make an arrow to show that it goes on forever. So let me scroll up here. So we have an endpoint and we have a line. And when we fill in the circle, we're going to end right here at this point. And then we're going to go on and we're going to draw an arrow. And as what this arrow means, this pointer, it means that this line that we drew doesn't stop here. It continues on forever the direction that is pointing. So right here continues on forever, but right here, that dot means it stops. So that's what a ray is. Not an array, but just ray, R-A-Y, means that we have a stop point and a line that continues on. Okay, and that arrow means it's just going to keep going, and keep going. Okay, so that's what a ray is. Okay, now an angle, let's come back down in here. Okay, when we have two rays or line segments, okay, that meet, let's talk about a line segment. So this is what a ray is. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. A line segment is when we have a similar thing, except for we have a starting point and an end point, okay? And this is a line segment, as we see down here. Line segment, okay? So, here we go, segment. That means we have a stopping point, a starting point, and a stopping point, okay? See how this is different? This is a ray. It continues on forever. Okay. So an angle is when we have two line segments, if we look down here, or two rays that meet an endpoint form an angle. So we can have a segment that comes down here, right? And it meets. And then we have another line segment that meets that line segment, okay? So we have to have two of them, and when they meet. And the angle that we're going to talking about is the distance from here. Oops, I held it too long. Let's try that again. The distance, let's change the color a little bit too. The distance from here to here, okay? So that distance from the line segment in the middle, okay? And that's what we're going to call an angle. Okay, so let's scroll back down here and we can look. Two line segments or two rays that meet an endpoint form an angle. Okay, so an angle that forms a square corner is called a right angle. So is how we want to think about a right angle is imagine if you had a line that went straight up and down and then a line that went straight across. Kind of like an L, okay? So when we talk about a right angle, this distance right in here, Okay? If it's straight up and straight across, like an L, then that's going to be a right angle. And you may have seen that in that earlier video that we talked about. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. See this, oops, got the eraser going. See this little box right here? How it's a little square, okay? If you have an angle and they've drawn in the little square here like this guy here is a little cheat to let you know that that is a right angle, okay? So when you see that little square, this little square drawn in here, it's a right angle. So this angle is a right angle. And a right angle, I know this is a lot of information, is 90 degrees, okay? So that's straight up and straight across. And I'll explain degrees in a little bit. That's just a little bit of information I'm going to give you. You don't need to know that right now, okay? So we've got a right angle, okay? Now, let me erase that really quick. Get rid of this. I need some more room, okay? Now, let's go ahead and use red. So we talked about a right angle is straight up and straight down. Now, what happens, let me change it. So the red is a right angle, right? Let's say I have an angle like this, and it goes here, right? So this angle isn't straight up and down, and it's smaller. This here is smaller than a right angle, right? So remember, when they're small, we could say that they are acute, right? Because it is a smaller angle, okay? Now, if I have an angle, let's use green, and let's see, try out my artist skills. Let's say now I have this angle, and I'm going to use green to draw it. See how it goes all the way over here? And it goes past the 90, or the right angle. Remember, the red is the right angle. And so our green is going to go past that, right? If it's big and it's past a right angle, then we are going to have what we call an obtuse angle. Now, when we're done with this activity, there's one more video I'm going to have you watch. It's just a silly song, okay, where we talk about right, obtuse, and acute angles, okay? And I'm going to talk about your protractors here in a little bit on how to use them, because sometimes it's hard to tell, is that a 90? If it gets close, is it a right angle? And so we're going to talk about how to use a protractor, but we'll look at that maybe tomorrow, okay? So we have obtuse, acute, which is the small one, and then our straight up and down. Remember, if we have straight up and straight across, then we're going to have our right angles, and that's usually marked with a little square in the middle, okay? So right now we're going to practice something. Let's come down here and look. Let's look at number 1 on the bottom of page 297. Which of the angles are right angles? Okay, so now our angles, this is angle V, W, X, Y, and Z. So is what I want you to do is I want you to look as V, W, X, Y, Z. Which of these angles are right angles? Is there more than one? Okay, so we're going to give you a second just to look, okay? All right, so I've got a right angle, and the right angle that I'm working on is W, okay? Hang on one second, I'll be right back. Sorry for the interruption, but I keep getting phone calls. Anyway, we're back. So we were talking about which one of these angles, or is there more than one angle that is a right angle? Now remember, we talked about a right angle. Let me zoom in right here, right? We have a little cheat with our right angle, right? Okay, that little square. So if we're going to come down here and we're going to look, do I have one with that square? I do. I only have one. So I'm going to come over here, and my angle W is my one that is a 90-degree angle, and I only have one. So number 2 says, which of the angles are smaller than a right angle? And do you remember what we call an angle that's smaller than a right angle? Right? Remember, those are, let me change because green doesn't show up too well. Those are acute. Remember, oh, they're so cute. Smaller than a 90. So we're going to look. Okay, I'm going to give you just a second to look. We know it's not W, right? So we have V, X, Y, and Z left. So let's take a look. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find the right ones. I'll give you just a minute here, okay? All right, did you find the right ones? So let's take a look at V. Does V look smaller? So we're going to go from here to here. That kind of looks big to me, doesn't it? Well, so it's not V. What about X? From here to here. Oh, X looks like it's smaller. So X is acute, right? Let's look at Y. What about Y? Y looks smaller to me than a right angle or a 90-degree angle. So we're going to put Y. Now let's look at Z. Z, wow, Z is almost a 90, isn't it? Or almost a right angle. But it's not quite. It's just a little bit bigger. So our only smaller, or only acute, I'll put acute over here for number 2. Our only acute angles are X and Y. So let's change our color. Let's go to blue. So now we're going to look at number 3, which angles are larger than a right angle. So we've already used W, so we know it's not W. We know X is acute, Y is acute. We talked about V being really big, right? So V is what we're going to call an obtuse angle. It is rather large, okay? And I got to make sure my V is a V and it doesn't look like a Y. And then we talked about Z is really big as well. And Z is also larger than a right angle, or Z is what we call an obtuse angle, okay? So today's homework assignment is a little bit different and hopefully a little bit fun, but this is what you're going to do. You are going to look for angles in your house, like a doorway, or where walls meet, or when a door is open or closed, or a cabinet door. And I want to see if you can find a right angle, an acute angle, and an obtuse angle in your house. Now, in the document you can type and tell me about it, but what might be really fun is either a picture or a video, if you could, of the different angles that you have found at your house. Okay? You could use Legos, you could use blocks. I want you to be creative. See if you can make a right angle, an obtuse angle, an acute angle, and see if you can show me what those are. See if you can find one in your house, or see if you can make something out of it, and then share it with us so we can see what it looks like. Again, you can type it out and tell us on the paper, but videos and pictures seem to be a lot more fun. So good luck on your math assignment today.